Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, Steve Arterburn here, and thanks for joining me for Life Recovery Today. Carley Galloway is my guest in just a couple of minutes. I think you'll really enjoy her story. But first, I want to talk to you about step number 2. A lot of people don't know about this resource. It's probably the strongest resource we have in all of the resources of life recovery. It's called the Life Recovery Journey, and every step has 4 different Bible studies, complete Bible studies, that you can go through, study with the group. It's just wonderful. So we've got 48 different Bible studies right here in this one book called the Life Recovery Journey. When you open up and start looking at step number 2, well, there's a study that starts by looking at the life of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was restored to sanity by God. In fact, it says in Daniel 4:34, "After this time had passed, I, Nebuchadnezzar, looked up to heaven. My sanity returned, and I praised and worshiped the Most High and honored the One who lives forever." Well, that is such an example of transformation and recovery. And first, in step 2, it says that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, a lot of people get worried about, why doesn't it say God rather than a power? Well, if you know anything about addiction and dependency and just a wayward life, you know that a lot of people have a hard time believing that God loves them. They just really can only relate to whatever it is that's more powerful than them, because they know, well, they're not more powerful than the problem that they have. They've come to grips with the fact in the first step that I have an extreme limitation, and in and of myself, I'll never ever be able to get over it by myself. So I need a power greater than me. Now, of course, whatever we understand God to be at one point, we're not going to stay there. And so many people walk into a secular AA meeting, they go to those rooms over and over again, and then one day somebody talks with them about what makes the difference in their life out in the parking lot or somewhere else, and they come to find Christ, or they end up in a Christ-centered recovery meeting. But first, I've got to really believe that there is some power, and it is God, through His Son Jesus Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit, that can restore me to sanity. In an instant? No. I've got to start to cooperate with that power. And when we start working with God, transformation is possible. I'll take a break and come right back after this.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here. Our guest today, Carley Galloway. Carley is 35 years old. Now, why do we give the age of a wonderful woman? Well, because 20 of the 35 have been a pretty tough struggle with addiction. And yet, that struggle has led her to be what I love to see, a life recovery group leader. And so she's helping other folks. And, once you start helping other people, well, you just can't get over it. But I'm really delighted to talk with a mom, a leader, a person who's done whatever it takes to deal with the rough side of life, Carley Galloway. Carley, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, happy to be here today.
So, 20 years in dealing with addiction and that struggle. Well, how did it all start? I mean, you were very, very young.
Yeah, Stephen, actually, it goes back to my early childhood. My parents were both addicts. They struggled with drugs and alcohol. They've both lost their battles now, but I have great peace knowing that they are in a better life, in a better place. So yeah, after my parents split up, I think I was about 8 years old. I left with my mom. My other and older siblings all had stayed with my dad. My mom lived a very fast lifestyle. She had a ton of boyfriends and people that you would probably not want around your little girl. When I was 11 when my stepdad started, or the man I considered my stepdad, started to sexually abuse me. And that kind of, I think, led me to seek out comfort in other places. So at the very young age of 12, I started smoking pot and doing other things as time went on.
Now, Carley, what year was that you started smoking pot? When would that have been when you were 12?
It would have had to be 2001.
Okay.
2001.
Where did you get it? How did you come across it and use it?
Sure. I stole it from one of my parents,
Okay.
or would find it from older friends and people that I hung out with in circles that, were up to no good.
And how long did the abuse by your stepfather last?
Sadly, about 6 months.
Okay.
And I had confronted my mom at one point, and this was when she was really in the throes of her addiction. And she wasn't really able to console me or do anything about it. She told me that was his way of showing love and that I kind of just needed to cope with it.
Oh my goodness. I hate those stories. And how, I like for people to tell this part of it because there's some people that are involved in abusive relationships. But how did that abuse impact you over the years to come in your mind? What did that do to you?
It definitely put up a fear of men, a fear of relationships, a fear of trusting anybody.
Well, I think that so many of the abusers, just for this momentary experience, I think they absolutely don't care or don't understand the devastation that they're causing. And then here you had a mother that wasn't willing to do anything about it. So how bad did the problem get with alcohol and drugs when it was at its worst stage? How old were you and what was going on there when it became really bad?
Okay, so let's fast forward then to when I was about 21.
Okay.
I was highly addicted to hydrocodone. I felt like I had a lot of control in my life at that point because things that I deemed successful, I had a good job, I had a good car, things that I thought, meant I was doing the right thing. Until I got my first DWI when I was 21. From there, I was put on probation, and I could not stay on probation because I couldn't pass a drug test. and ended up getting some more charges, which landed me in state jail for 8 months.
8 months, wow. And were there drugs there, or was it were they able to keep it free of drugs?
That time there was no drugs or anything there, and it was a good time for me to really clear my head. And I when I got out, I kind of had a plan that I wasn't going to go back to that lifestyle, and that did not happen. And the sad thing is within probably about a year and a half, I had landed back into state jail for 10 months this time.
Wow. You know, so often ill-informed parents will do everything they can to keep a child out of jail or a young adult out of jail. And like you said, well, it helped you clear your head. I mean, you did go a while without drugs. Sometimes it's absolutely the safest and the best place. So you went back in, did another 10 months. What happened when you got out that time?
Well, first let me tell you about what happened while I was in there.
Okay.
My mother, who, God rest her soul, wasn't always the best mom, but she was my best friend. And I know she loved me dearly despite her terrible choices. She passed away of cirrhosis of the liver. And so while in there this time, I just felt devastated. And out of that despair is when something really cool and meaningful happened. Because one day I was just, what else is there? And I picked up my Bible and I was like, okay, God, what do you have for me? You know what? If this is it, if you have something to say, let me open this and say something to me. And he did. I opened my Bible, randomly flipped open to James 4:8, and it said, draw near to God and God will draw near to you.
Wow.
And those were some of the most comforting words that have ever been spoken to me.
Boy, that is just such, I mean, so many people open their Bible and it says something like, you know, fear God and die or something like that. And boy, to get those words, I mean, I really believe that must have been a divine intervention into your life. So from there, what did you do? You felt like God was speaking to you and wanted to show you his love. Where did you go from there?
Well, I yearned for more of the Bible, and through that, talked to people. There's all kinds of people that would come into these facilities to share the love of Jesus with the people that were incarcerated. So I talked to a lady one day who helped me pray and accept Jesus, and I accepted Jesus into my heart. And I just had this passion to really start a relationship with Jesus and to understand that there is more to life than drugs and alcohol and misery.
How did you get introduced to 12-step groups and recovery?
Okay, so I got out of jail and got very active in a church and was part of a recovery program there at that church. And I can honestly say that I wanted to be there, and it was a very authentic desire, but my heart wasn't fully there.
Right.
And unfortunately, I was kind of led back astray and away from the church for a while and away from recovery for a while.
And you know, what I love about your story is that it's very typical of other stories, not in some ways, but it's typical from this. It seems like you'd take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And a lot of times when they take the step back, the person sees it as total failure and they don't go forward again. But you did. We'll take a break. We'll come back and hear more of this story from Carley.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis. Someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. We're talking with Carley Galloway. Started smoking pot at age 12, abused by a stepdad, and a mom that just didn't know what to do or didn't do anything about that. But as life would have it, God was with her and for her, and before it was all over, she is picking up a Bible, and over there in James 4, it said, "Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you." So Carley, you, as I was saying before we finished, very much like a lot of folks, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So you kind of drifted away, and then you came back and got involved in the church again. How did that happen?
Well, God, just never stopped pursuing me. And through some trials with my husband, we just really, I kind of hit a rock bottom. And we turned to God together. And let me just tell you, what seems impossible to us is so possible for God. And
Amen.
it's not in His power, in our power, that we recover, but it's in His power. And He had His hand in everything moving forward, even from my stumbling years ago. And He really just brought me back around full circle.
So this final time, you never went back, or it was the beginning of kind of the longer term recovery. What do you think made the difference this time versus a couple of the other times that you were getting better, but you still had a setback or two?
Sure, it's authenticity. How much do you really want it? And do you believe that God is who He says He is?
Well, when it says that this is an honesty program, it really would be better maybe if it even refined it a bit to say it's an authenticity program. What does authenticity mean to you when you use that word?
Well, definitely being honest and, just I think it's just getting all of the junk and all of the hurt and all of the lies that we stuff down into our heart. You get it all out. And you take it out of the darkness and you bring it into the light. And that's where God does the most transforming work, is when you're able to just really bring all that ugliness into the light.
So how did you get into leading a group from, just struggling and going to 12-step meetings and things? What was going on where you started to lead?
So amidst the COVID shutdowns, I was just feeling really isolated, and I got into a very I was just scared. I just knew what was going to happen if I didn't have some sort of help. And I reached out to my pastors at my church, and both of them and everybody just said, just start something. And so we did. And it was just a few of us at first, but we met all through COVID, and we just continued to pour into each other and to work through the steps together. And the really cool thing about Life Recovery to me is how God brought that to me. There was a lady that I was in a group with years ago that I hadn't spoken to in years. And she, I guess, came across this Life Recovery devotional and just sent it to me in the mail. And I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't spoken to her in years. So I just really felt like that was God just bringing me Life Recovery. And, prayed about it. And I just kind of yearned for more of it. And I got the Life Recovery Bible and just fell in love with the commentaries and the 12-step devotionals. And that's where it all started.
Well, what I love about that, well, a couple of things. One, a lot of times people, when they need something, like a specific group, well, they get angry that the church or somebody else isn't providing that. But your story is so great because you did it. You did what you wanted and needed. And it's really not that difficult to start a group. And anybody wanting to, at New Life, we have plenty of resources. We have a group starter kit that you can get involved with. But I'll mention this to you. I've mentioned it several other times to other people. But, one of the things that I love about the Life Recovery Bible and why I'm so happy that I worked with Dave Stoop on it is that Dave had the ability to find all of these Bible scholars in seminaries and Christian colleges who were also recovering. And all of those notes at the bottom are written by Bible scholars who are recovering Bible scholars. And it's been just such a great joy to hear people talk about what that means to them. And that's why I've always felt like it was a special Bible. I think that's why it's sold over 3 million, is I really think it was kind of a supernatural bringing together this group of recovering folks. And I'm so glad you found it. And I'm glad that you've shared what you have in this group that you're doing. It's just absolutely wonderful. Now you're sharing your life with other people. So let's bring it up to date. And I'm just wondering, as you look back and you think about your struggles, the growth, the things you've done, are there some things that you wish everybody knew about addiction, struggle, recovery, 12 steps? Anything come to mind that you wish other people knew about?
I wish, I wish people understood that addiction is just hard. It is just so hard to overcome. And when a person makes an honest step in the right direction, just hope and pray that they're met in love. And, that the people that are around them will see that genuineness of their efforts. As I think a lot of people they're afraid that if they reach out for support or if they're honest with their loved ones, that they're going to be rejected.
Yeah, and I do think that happens. And I was just talking with a young man who, he got in some trouble, and all he got from his parents was shame rather than some godly direction. When you think back on the impact of shame in your life, what did shame do to you?
Well, shame is what kept me bound for so long, because I just felt like just dirty. I felt unworthy. I felt like God wouldn't want me. What could he use me for? Look at the things that I have done. But that is the enemy. 100% the enemy keeping you away from the redeeming power of God's love. And so shame is just, it's just a terrible thing. I think accepting God's grace was the day that he just took all that weight off my shoulders and it was gone. And I was no longer afraid to share my story. I was no longer afraid of what people might think about me, because it didn't matter anymore. What mattered is that I can help others find a way to get rid of that shame and to unlock that love and that grace that Jesus so freely gives us.
So powerful. I love it that you quit caring about what other people thought. Well, I've got about a minute left. What do you say to somebody that's struggling, Carley? Encourage them to do what they need to do, please.
Just be humble and ask for help. There is so many resources out there. For years, I thought that I could do it on my own, and I failed. It was not until that I really reached out for help and desired to have that really real relationship with Jesus did I start to understand what true recovery was. And so just reach out for help. Reach out to a support system, a counselor, a pastor at your church, just anybody, and just start. Just start. Start with honesty and watch how God is going to use that to bring so many good fruits to your life.
Well, Carley, I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing your story. And it really does show, it's such a great example that God will draw to us if we will just seek him and draw close to him. He'll respond. And I just encourage you to keep up the great work and helping other people. It really matters. And I'm grateful for your life and what God's going to do with it the next 60 years or so. And if we can ever help you, we would love to. And as for the rest, if we can ever help you, you can call 1-800-NEW life and get one of those Life Recovery Bibles or that workbook that Carley was talking about. I'll take a break and I'll come right back after this.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit LifeRecoveryToday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
You know, I just love Carley's story because, man, what a life of turmoil and being abused and a mom that's not going to step in. But she finally found one of the gifts of life recovery. She found peace. In John 14:27, it says this, I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. One of the greatest gifts to me that gives me peace is knowing that there is this power greater than me, and that is God the Creator, whose Son is Jesus Christ. And He does have things in control. And at the darkest moment, no matter what you're going through, no matter what I've been through or I'm going to go through, I know it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. I can handle dealing with the toughest challenges, trying to do the next right thing, one right thing at a time. Why do I know it's going to be okay? Because when I think about all the places in my life where I was either suicidal or I was close to death or whatever, it all worked out. I'm still here. And boy, am I ever glad that I am. So no matter what you're struggling with, turn it over to the all-powerful God. Let Him give you peace of mind and heart, a peace that the world can't understand. Because you know He's in control. It's going to be okay. It may take a while, but it'll be okay. Speaking of while, well, I can't wait till I'm back here next time. See you then.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to LifeRecoveryToday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.